All right, good afternoon, everybody. Link in the description. All right, so what we have going on here is basically a sample of people just going into bucket mode. Pause this for a second. Let me actually share so you can see what I'm talking about.
Edgewater Police Department near Orlando is mourning the loss of one of its officers. The Volusia County Sheriff said David Jewell was off duty and went into a convenience store yesterday afternoon when a clerk came up behind him and shot and killed Jewell. The sheriff says it was an ambush and that the two knew each other.
Know one another, and they don't live that far away. David lives up the street here. Our shooter
It's an interesting last name, but okay.
lives a couple blocks over. So there's some type of a nexus there that we have not figured out yet.
Eduardo Machado was arrested and is facing murder charges. He is being held without bond. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office posted this message in response, saying in part, they are heartbroken over David Jewell's death. That Officer Jewell was a true public servant who cared for his community and worked to make it a safer place. Officer David Jewell was 45 years old.
And no, I've done enough Charlie Kirk stuff. I don't know. What the fuck is wrong with people? Like, is everybody trying to fucking outdo each other? First, and this goes back for quite a few decades. All right, so let me just start by, in the 90s, started in the 90s, 1999 to be exact, okay? So one thing that brought mass shootings, school shootings in particular, to light was the Columbine shooting. Because, in my lifetime, that was the first one to hit double-digit deaths. And then, sure enough, Virginia Tech. And then so on and so on and so on and so on. Sandy Hook. You get my point. And now, what you're seeing is you're seeing, a lot more, people of high profile or importance being taken out by people who may just be, what they call bucket mode. First, within the since the election, the shooting of Brian Thompson, allegedly by Luigi Mangione. Fast forward, almost about 9 months later, Charlie Kirk. And then now this. Now, this is probably not going to get nearly as much coverage, as Charlie Kirk or Luigi Mangione. One, he was an officer. And apparently, obviously that clerk was in fucking mode. Like, a fucking clerk killing a cop. Like, what the fuck? Like, what went wrong, in his life that he just felt the need? And obviously, like the article said, they knew each other. But it doesn't really say much. Did the clerk have problems with that officer? More needs to be delved into that, because clearly, it's not every day that a clerk's just going to croak a cop or anybody for that matter, while they're on the clock. But, apparently this guy was just in complete fuck it mode. So again, I don't know whether it was animosity, whether the clerk had dealings with the officer, in the past. But let me time travel back to about 6 years before 6 years. I almost said 6 years before the pandemic, but that would be incorrect. This was actually just before the pandemic, and it actually happened in my home state. I mentioned this in other videos. The Sergeant Michael Chestnut of the Weymouth Police Department, he was killed on duty, responding to a call, about a deranged guy, throwing rocks, doing, all sorts of crazy shit. So he responds. He obviously locates the guy runs off and hides and all that stuff. Guy does a Rambo type ambush, takes the officer's gun, kills him with his own gun, kills the officer with his own gun. I know, we're the anti-Second Amendment people on that one. Anyhow, enough of that. But that was also 6 years ago. Now, I don't know whether that went national. I do know that it was certainly very, I do believe it was circling around, the Northeast area. But I don't believe people out in California heard it. I could be wrong. Because when they had the memorial, there were, people from many different police departments, including those from out of state, were actually showing up for that memorial. Anyhow, going forward, so we're just clearly at a point where everybody is just in fuck it mode, and this is this very well could be what they wanted. I saw a comment in another video, regarding Charlie Kirk. Putin wants to have Trump divide. You divide and then you conquer, and we're so fucking divided. Especially since, Charlie, we're so fucking divided. We're going to be even more divided, now we're going to be divided between, the common citizen and law enforcement, and which we haven't seen in a while. And I'm losing connection. But anyhow, that's all I have for this one. I would have done a video, but my phone and my camera from my computer just isn't working too well. Anyhow, I'll talk to you.